100 years ago, there were 1.5 billion people on Earth. Now, over 6 billion crowd our fragile planet. But even so, there are still places barely touched by humanity. This series will take you to the last wildernesses and show you the planet and its wildlife as you have never seen them before. Imagine our world without sun. Male emperor penguins are facing the nearest that exists on planet Earth, winter in Antarctica. It's continuously dark and temperatures drop to minus 70 degrees centigrade. Penguins stay when all other creatures have fled, because each guards a treasure, a single egg resting on the top of its feet and kept warm beneath the downy bulge of its stomach. There is no food and no water for them, and they will not see the sun again for 4 months. Surely no greater ordeal is faced by any animal. As the sun departs from the Antarctic, it lightens the skies in the far north. It's March, and light returns to the high Arctic, sweeping away 4 months of darkness. A polar bear stirs. She has been in her den the whole winter. Her emergence marks the beginning of spring. After months of confinement underground, she toboggans down the slope, perhaps to clean her fur, perhaps for sheer joy. Her cubs gaze out at their bright new world for the very first time. The female calls them, but this steep slope is not the easiest place to take your first steps. But they are hungry and eager to reach their mother, who's delayed feeding them on this special day. Now she lures them with the promise of milk, the only food the cubs have known since they were born, deaf and blind beneath the snow, some 2 months ago. Their mother has not eaten for 5 months and has lost half her body weight. Now she converts the last of her fat reserves into milk for her cubs. The spring sun brings warmth, but also a problem for the mother. It starts to melt the sea ice. That is where she hunts for the seals she needs to feed her cubs, and she must get there before the ice breaks up. For now, though, it's still minus 30 degrees, and the cubs must have the shelter of the den. It's 6 days since the bears emerged, and spring is advancing rapidly. But even now, blizzards can strike without warning. Being so small, the cubs are easily chilled, and they will be more comfortable resting in the den. But their mother must keep them out and active. She's becoming weak from hunger, and there's no food on these nursery slopes. The sea ice still holds firm, but it won't last much longer. Day 10, and the mother has led her cubs a mile from the den. It's time to put them to the test. They've grown enormously in confidence, but they don't have their mother's sense of urgency. At last, it seems that they're ready for their journey, and only just in time. For a few miles from the coast, the ice is already splitting. Now the mother can start hunting for the seals they must have, but she's leading her cubs into a dangerous new world. Nearly half of all cubs die in their first year out on the ice. Summer brings 24 hours of sunlight and a thawing, shifting landscape. Further south, the winter snows have almost cleared from the Arctic tundra. Northern Canada's wild frontier. Here, nature stages one of her greatest dramas. Every year, 3 million caribou migrate across the Arctic tundra. The immensity of the herd can only be properly appreciated from the air. Some herds travel over 2,000 miles a year in search of fresh pastures. This is the longest overland migration made by any animal. They're constantly on the move. Newborn calves have to be up and running the day they're born. But the vast herds do not travel alone. Wolves. Packs of them, 8 to 10 strong, shadow the migration. And they're hungry. It's the newly born calves that they're after. running directly at the herd is a ploy to generate panic. The herd breaks up, and now it's easier to target an individual. In the chaos, a calf is separated from its mother. The calf is young, but it can outrun the wolf if only it manages to keep its footing. At this stage, the odds are even. Either the caribou will make a mistake, or after a mile, the wolf will give up. Midsummer on the tundra, and the sun does not set. At these latitudes, the sun's rays are glancing, and not enough of their energy reaches the ground to enable trees to grow. You need to travel 500 miles south from here before that is possible. These stunted shrubs mark the tree line, the beginning of the boreal forest, the taiga. The needle-shaped leaves of the conifers are virtually inedible, so this forest supports very little animal life. It's a silent place where the snow is unmarked by footprints. In the Arctic winter, snow forms a continuous blanket across the land. But as spring creeps up from the south, the taiga is unveiled. This vast forest circling the globe contains a third of all the trees on Earth and produces so much oxygen it changes the composition of the atmosphere. As we travel south, so the sun's influence grows stronger, and at 50 degrees of latitude, a radical transformation begins. Summers here are long enough for broad-leaved trees to replace conifers. Broadleaves are much easier to eat and digest. So now animals can collect their share of the energy that has come from the sun. It's summer, and these forests are bustling with life.
Do you want to pause it or do you want to keep going? How much time have we done? I've done probably 40 minutes. I'm sweating though. I sweat so much. It's ridiculous. Ugh. Have you worked on finding me a man?
What is it?
Have you worked on finding me a man?
Yeah, but you... I have someone in mind.
Okay. What does he look like?
Luke, he's...
Uh-oh. Here, when someone says he's, that's dangerous.
Nice guy. He used to work out with me. More your age. I think he's probably about the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Hook us up, man. YouTube. What does he look like? Is he Christian?
Yes.
Okay. Seriously, I'm so sweaty. Why did you seem so surprised today by my personality?
What do you mean?
You just seemed like surprised. I don't know. You seemed very surprised.
By your personality?
By me. Mm-hmm. You did.
When? What part?
Like when we were at Kayla's aunt's house, you were like, "You are so funny," like as if you didn't realize that, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
you know me.
Yeah, but you have a great personality. You just...
It's hard because
but you just need to...
I do. I'm like, I wish you would have seen me over the summer. I'm such a different person when Steve is in my life. Yeah. And I think it's just because I'm frustrated with him right now. Oh, I'm still recording. That's